welcome into the Rob Breaux Show. I am Rob Breaux. He's Carson Robinson on a Friday, on a lunch Friday, here in the Diversified Lenders studio. Yeah. There we go. Get some double T's back there. Carson, how you doing? Oh, you're muted, man. You muted yourself. There
Making
you go.
it on a Friday, my bad.
There it is.
It's Friday. That's how it's going.
It is Friday. First question on the starting line chat line. Bro, what the hell has happened? It's a roller coaster this morning. It has been. Let's jump right into realignment at about 8 a.m. Brett McMurphy gets up and tweets, the Pac-12 staying together. We've got stuff to do. They're going to stick around and sign this Apple deal. It expires at midnight. And then all of a sudden, Brett McMurphy, the same guy, says, wait, actually, Oregon and Washington are not signing. They're going to the Big Ten after all. Now we have Jason Scheer, the Arizona reporter, saying that Arizona's still all in for the Big 12. They're trying to convince Arizona State or not. Arizona State still needing to be convinced. But that's where we are. Oregon and Washington likely leaving. Arizona likely coming to the Big 12. Arizona State dragging its feet. And Utah, I have no idea. I haven't heard anything on Utah today.
According to all the Utah, yeah, that's crazy that we hadn't heard anything from Utah on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
But, I think Utah will follow Arizona State, wherever they go. I don't see Utah going to the Big Ten. Like, the Pacific Northwest teams and the West Coast teams are one thing, but grabbing Utah is, I don't know that the Big Ten wants Utah, but they would be a perfect brand to fit in the Big 12, I feel like. Plus, with BYU and Utah in the same conference, again, like, that's cool for me. The Holy War is one of my favorite college football rivalries. So
I don't know if it's a perfect fit. They're a perfect brand, but they are certainly.
They're not a perfect brand. They're a good brand to have in your conference.
Yeah, certainly.
I think it fits really well with BYU in your conference. That's for sure.
And all of a sudden, geographically, if Arizona State, Colorado, BYU are all in there, it makes sense for Utah too as well.
Right. Yeah, and then you have a true west-east side of the conference.
Yeah, it makes sense. But, and it's a large but here, Utah and Arizona State could just stay in the Pac-12.
Yeah, and then what does the Pac-12 look like? Do they, absolve a few Mountain West? It just the Mountain West absolves itself into the Pac-12. I mean, that's what it looks like. And then, you would have, at that point, you would have Utah and Utah State in the same conference. That's pretty cool. That's a good rivalry game, even though, Utah controls it just because they're a Power 5 team right now. But, yeah, I think for Utah, for the best thing they could do is get in the Big 12 for their, money wise. But if they just want to, do their own thing and not battle with the Texas schools, which Utah recruits really well in Texas. Kevin Whittingham's done a great job. Kyle Whittingham has done a great job in the state of Texas in recruitment as well. So,
and that would only improve.
It would only improve coming to the Big 12. So, and Keilani Satake's finding that out. He's recruited well in Texas as well. It's going to just get better for BYU doing that, moving into the Big 12. Deion Sanders has just opened up if he didn't have Texas open already, Deion Sanders just by name alone opens up pretty much anywhere. But
he had Texas open, but Colorado certainly will get back into it. That's why they were good originally, because they had the Texas or when they were in the Big 8, they had, the middle of the country to work with.
Yeah, I don't know that Utah, and Alan Corbin just said this, Utah is a fit for the Big 12 only because of the Holy War. That's it. I agree. I think they're a good fit. I think that's pretty good fit right there.
I mean, that might be enough.
That's enough for me. Seeing that rivalry game every year. And then, for Texas Tech, you're either going to travel to Utah or BYU every single one of those every single year, which is a cool trip to go to. Salt Lake City's a cool place. Alan should know, he lived there for a while. So, Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind Utah being in the conference. They bring, a pretty good basketball program, men's basketball program, a good women's program with them as well. They hosted a regional this year in the women's program for the basketball in the women's basketball tournament. They, softball's good. They hosted a regional in softball too, I believe. Um,
I think
and
for
baseball's not
Utah,
terrible, but they have baseball.
I just, if they come, they come.
Yeah.
I'm not begging them to come.
But you're not begging Arizona to come either.
I'm begging Arizona to come. I think they're a much, much better fit.
Really?
And they have the basketball history.
They have the basketball history, but they don't have the recent success in basketball. Like, what has been their recent success?
I think they would. Well,
DeAndre Ayton's been their recent success. That's it.
I think they could come into the Big 12 and make some noise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that, but
and if
football-wise, they haven't been great either.
No, but I don't care about. I would rather have UConn than Arizona State.
Well, and if you want to talk about pedigree, I mean, baseball and softball, Arizona's got pedigree too. They've won a national championship in baseball. Jay Johnson's second to last year at Arizona, and then he goes to LSU and wins the national title this year. So
nobody's replacing Texas.
No, Texas is just a brand.
But this is a sneaky good baseball conference, and it might be better than it was.
If you at Arizona, it's a really good, and especially in softball conference at Arizona.
Yeah,
and Utah too. I mean, I don't know about Utah baseball, but Utah softball, like I said, hosted a regional this year. So it's I think that it adds value with Arizona, yes, and the fact that Arizona is kind of a brand name in basketball. They haven't been great in the last few years, but the Lute Olson days, everybody goes back to that, and everybody loves them. The Lute Olson, Dexter, or what was his last name was Miles. What was his first name? Remember back, they won like 2 national titles in a row with Lute Olson. I wanted to say Darius Miles, but that's the wrong. He was the high school kid that got drafted out of high school. I can't remember. Anyways, yeah, I mean, it's been a while since Arizona's been a great basketball program, but move into the Big 12, they do have name recognition.
And Arizona and Kansas would be a huge thing nationally.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, you don't have to think of Texas. You don't have to be good to be recognized.
It's true.
So I think Arizona brand recognition is better than Utah. Utah has had more recent success in football, but that really doesn't matter in realignment.
No, and with the way that the Big 12 is setting itself up, and I think you and Kyle have highlighted this, is that you're kind of setting yourself up. Yeah, football is an important sport in this conference, but this is a basketball conference. You're starting to lean towards being just a powerhouse in the basketball world, and I think that you're seeing that in the front office of the Big 12, kind of pushing that narrative, trying to get to that point, and starting to talk about games in Mexico City, all those types of deals, and they've done a great job with pushing the basketball, and the basketball has been really good. The Big 12 has been probably the best basketball conference in the country the last few years. So it is what it is at that standpoint. And football will get better too if you add Utah into it. And I think Arizona and Arizona State could add some value in football as well. If Arizona comes, Arizona State will follow. I don't think that there's any way Arizona State stays in the Pac-12, what will be the Pac-12, and doesn't come to the Big 12. Like, I just don't see them not coming with Arizona. I don't think that happens at all.
Yeah.
Then that leaves the door open for Boise State to finally get in the Pac-12.
But this also, this also isn't just these schools' decisions. It could be the Big 12's decision to stay at 14.
Yeah.
Though I don't think it will be after today, after Oregon and Washington decide to go to the Big 10 and they now get to 18 schools. Does Fox have the money to pay 18 Big 10 schools and 16 Big 12 schools?
Yeah. And
does Fox want Utah and Arizona State in the Big 12?
I think Fox would want Utah just because of their football Utah's football team has been great the last
But
couple of years.
a budget is a budget.
Yeah, budget's budget.
If they approve 2 pro rata spots, Colorado and Arizona have taken those. So is Fox gonna give a certain percentage? Are they going to be half shares to come in with Fox for Utah and Arizona State, and ESPN's going to go full, so they're going to get 3/4 of a deal? Or does Fox say, all right, well, we'll pay these 2, but you got to stop there?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that Fox has plenty of money.
It's not, well, do they? Because the Big Ten deal's still not even signed fully.
Yeah, I think what has happened is that the Fox has told the Big Ten, like, here, we're going to give you a deadline. Add the teams you want to, but here's our deadline. You need to sign. We need to figure this thing out by a certain, X date on the calendar. So I don't know that it has anything to do with the money, and they're telling them, you can only add this many teams. I think they want to see where the Big Ten is at as far as who they're adding and what value they're adding to the conference before they end up with the money with what they're going to pay them. I don't think it has any issue with they don't have the funds. I think Fox has plenty of money.
Does ESPN?
I don't know that ESPN has the same money as Fox does. I mean, they got Pat McAfee money, but they got rid of a lot of people for Pat McAfee. So
yeah,
I don't know that ESPN has that, but they don't need
sports.
to. They don't need to pay the Pac-12 any money anymore, anyways. So for ESPN After Dark,
for sure.
Yeah, so they have that reserve. Those reserves are now available for Big 12, ESPN Plus, whatever you want to do, or Big 12 Now, whatever they call it. But right. Yeah.
Back to the starting line chat line. Chris says, I blame Jackson Mahomes for all the conference craziness today. Did you see the restaurant that shut down and she's trying to blame her legal troubles with Jackson Mahomes? That people are like vandalizing the building in honor of Jackson Mahomes and they had to shut down?
Wow. I didn't know that many people like Jackson Mahomes. So
I think it's unrelated.
Yeah, I would say it's unrelated. Probably your food is bad.
Yeah. I'm sure there is something to it, but that just seems like a really weird story that she's trying to chase Jackson Mahomes there a little bit. Though the initial confrontation certainly was a negative one.
Very much so.
How do you think UConn is feeling right now from Chase?
Here's the thing. Yeah, left out. And the thing is UConn would be a great ad for basketball. Football is getting better. I mean, with the coaching staff they've hired, I think they've done a great job with that. But I don't know that
has to lose in the conference, Carson.
Yeah, UConn's football does not add value. But basketball adds value, obviously.
Vanderbilt, what value does Vanderbilt add?
Vanderbilt adds no value athletically to the SEC. The only reason they're still in the SEC is because they were an original member, right? Like that's the only reason they're in, because they were good. Baseball, They add value in baseball. That's it. See ya. No other sport.
Not real value,
but they add value by putting the SEC in the College World Series. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And winning a few national championships. But other than that, nobody knows anything about Vanderbilt. Nobody cares anything about Vanderbilt.
Going back to Arizona, if you do split, like you alluded to, the basketball money from the football money,
which I think is possible with this conference. I think it's a great idea, to be honest.
Then it's huge for Arizona to be here because that's another brand name in basketball.
Yeah.
But UConn would be just as big.
Yeah, and basketball, and let's be honest, the baseball program at UConn pretty solid too. So you have another solid baseball program in there to make up for not having Iowa State with a baseball program.
How much longer until the Pac-7 becomes the Pac-4?
Not much, except for whenever they dissolve the Mountain West into the Pac-12, and then they just pretend like nothing happened.
I think today, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have an announcement that today the rest of the Four Corners are joining Colorado.
Yep. By the end of the day, it'll all have changed.
Arizona 100% getting slow rolled by Board of Regents and Arizona State. Oregon, Washington got a better deal as of this morning from Fox and the Big Ten. Correct me if I'm wrong. Arizona and Arizona State have the same Board of Regents?
Is that
Don't they-
actually? Yeah, I think you're right because I
Fine.
think yeah,
I think that's part of the holdup is that they
yeah.
share or have some kind of familiarity with each other. I don't know that they have specifically the same Board of Regents, but I do think that that is part of the reason Arizona State is able to hold up Arizona so well, is because they have some kind of connection there. And I know they're two state-run institutions in the same state, but
Right. And the two largest institutions in that state.
right.
And
I
and
don't
the
think,
thing is too is
Oklahoma State are sharing Board of Regents.
no. No, and yeah, Mitchell's right. I mean, the Board of Regents is holding up to get Arizona State moving, and I don't understand the loyalty to the Pac-12. Like for Arizona State and for Utah and all these schools that are kind of dragging their feet. I mean, Arizona kind of drag. Here's the thing too: is I've heard through many of different things is that Arizona has been gung ho about getting into the Big 12 from jump, like before
Yeah.
Colorado jumped on board. It was just a matter of who's going to jump first. And Arizona was trying to jump first, but because of Arizona State, nothing was going on. And now that Colorado's jumped, now Arizona's like, hey, don't forget about us. We want to come too. Remember, we wanted to come before Colorado decided to jump. But we have little brother on our back that's not letting us go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like I think that's Arizona's issue right now. And eventually I think it gets to the point where they might make the decision like, hey, Arizona State, you don't want to go, then Arizona's going to go make the money. You can decide, that you can do this deal with the Pac-12 where you're playing on Apple TV and getting no money whatsoever compared to what Arizona's about to get. And then whenever you decide to get into the Big 12, it'll be too late because they'll have added somebody else.
But if they have a combined Board of Regents, why are they just holding up Arizona State? I think it's the Arizona State president that's holding up Arizona State.
That might be it.
Imagine if Cyclone Larry never cracked that beer, we would still have a Power 5 conference. LOL. Maybe so.
Still
Maybe
have
it is
5 Power 5 conferences.
So we're doing Jackson Mahomes, Cyclone Larry. Whose fault is it? Or the Big Ten?
And the Arizona State president.
Yeah, start, bench, cut. Those three. We'll start Cyclone Larry.
Yeah, we'll start Cyclone Larry. I'm all in on Cyclone Larry. Cutting Jackson Mahomes because I can't stand the guy.
Yeah, he doesn't bother me. He used to. Arizona State, and Northern Arizona all have the same Board of Regents.
All the public schools. I get.
The more you know.
I would assume they probably have a couple other public schools, but those are the main universities.
Yeah.
I would assume in the state of Arizona. Go Lumberjacks, by the way, Northern Arizona.
Will Brett offer a partial share to Utah and Arizona State? They have no leverage. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
He could. Again, Fox approved 2 ads to 14. You're there.
I'll guarantee if Rob asked, and it'd probably have to be the Gauchos that got him because I don't have the same kind of pull as those two guys have. But I bet Brett Yormark would be willing to get on the podcast if you ask nicely and he has time.
He would say we have a plan.
Right.
That's what he said at Big 12 Media Days.
I mean, he can't give you all the secrets.
No.
But here's the thing. I think Brett Yormark, and you and Kyle said this, I think it was whenever you had the BYU preview that night, is that Brett Yormark has done more in his first year, and has it even been a year yet since he took over?
Yeah. He took over at the beginning of August. So
yeah, it's been a year. He's done more in his 1 year than Bob Bowlesby did or could have ever dreamed of doing. In how long was Bob Bowlesby the commissioner of this league? All Bob Bowlesby did was lose the top 2 money generating schools from the league. That's all Bob Bowlesby did.
So he no, that's not all he did. He took over.
Well, he lost Nebraska and Colorado and Texas A&M too.
Well, BB did.
Oh yeah, BB did that.
And he takes over, right? And he adds, or maybe, man, I can't remember if he added TCU in West Virginia.
That's true.
Did he though? Or did he come in after all that was settled?
I can't remember.
Do all that. Anyways,
Mitchell might know.
He sat on it for a decade and didn't do anything else, and didn't try to improve a TV deal. didn't try to say, all right, Oklahoma and Texas, let's help out the rest of the conference. He didn't try to do anything. And this narrative that he sprung into action when Texas and Oklahoma left and went and added these 4 schools from the AAC and BYU is just flat false. He didn't do anything. He was in the corner crying to ESPN and writing them cease and desist letters while Kirby Hocutt, Lawrence Skuvenek, and Linda Lovegood, or whatever her name is, were like, hey, we need to do something. Let's add Houston and UCF and Cincinnati and BYU.
Seems like a great idea. Yep.
And Bob Bowlesby, I guess, had to approve it, but
he took credit for it on the way out. Is what he did.
He was shadow fired.
Yeah. Yeah. He was out the door. He had almost 2 feet out the door. Yeah, so Bowlesby, they joined in 2012, so it was BB who really brought him into the conference.
Yeah.
And
so he did nothing.
I told you Mitchell would know. And then we had Haley said up here in the chat line that he's not sure he wants Arizona State in the conference, save spots for East Coast ACC pickups. I mean, I thought about this the other day is like, if you have a choice between Arizona State and Arizona, and you only could add one team, would you want to add Arizona State or Arizona, or would you want to add an ACC school when it breaks apart?
Well, first of all, you get to 14 and add Arizona. That's a
get to 14. Yeah.
And then I think you pause. I agree. I don't think you need Arizona State and Utah.
I could care less if Arizona State or Utah came. Like we said, only reason I want Utah in the league is the Holy War is in the Big 12. That's a huge rivalry game for the Big 12 because you're losing a huge rivalry game that's well known and everybody knows the Holy War. Like if you follow college football anyway.
If the ACC grant of rights does break, you have a really good opportunity to get NC State and Pitt and Virginia Tech and North Carolina.
Virginia Tech. Yeah. Oh, and here's the thing too. If you're wanting to go towards a basketball conference and the ACC just decides, you know what, screw it. We can no longer make this work. And, you know, these teams are getting picked up by the SEC. I don't think Duke's getting picked up by the SEC because SEC is a football conference. Duke is not a great football school. They're a basketball school. The Big 12 could
They won 9 games this year.
Who did?
Duke.
Football?
Yeah.
Oh.
Mike Elko, maybe.
Yeah, Elko. That's right. He was back. He was the head coach this year. Yeah. But anyway, if Duke comes, North Carolina's coming to the Big 12 too. That's a package deal right there. I don't think they go anywhere without each other. And that would, if you want to be a basketball conference, that pretty much shores up the basketball conference for you because you have 4, when you add Arizona, you have 4 blue bloods of college basketball in your conference. And then, you know, you have the Oklahoma States, the Texas Techs, you know, all these schools that are Kansas State too, who has been good in the years that this is a basketball conference. If you think about it, now you're getting to 16 teams. If you do that, plus for football, North Carolina ain't bad. Duke, like you said, not bad.
Hey,
that's if the ACC devolves.
Big 10's at 18.
Yeah, the Big 10's at 18. I think you're going to see the SEC, the Big 12, and the Big 10 at 18 teams apiece by 2025.
20 teams.
20 teams? That's fair. I mean, and then just 2 10-team divisions.
Yeah. Then you play round robin.
What do you do in football?
And then there's 6 conferences.
No non-conference games in football. Everything's a conference game.
I don't know.
I don't know what you do in football with that, but
if I was Arizona State and Utah, I'd be nervous, but they seem oblivious. They certainly do. Assuming Arizona State and Utah end up in the Big 12, how do you think scheduling will shake out? I've seen a couple of mock-ups using regional pods and protected rivalries that I really like. Yeah, if you have 16 teams, you kind of have to do that. I would assume you still stay just divisionless and you have some protected rivalries that you play every year and then you rotate through everyone else.
The only hard thing you get with being divisionless, and I know the SEC is going to go to this, I believe next year, but is that if you have, 3 or 4 teams, say three of them don't play each other, they don't have the common opponent. How do you do the tiebreaker? Does it go to, point differential? What are we doing as a tiebreaker? And then if someone gets screwed, then it's like, who is the real Big 12 champion? It's kind of like, if you have the divisions, then you have a champion of that division because you're playing everybody in your division. You're the best team out of that division. But also, if you have divisions, you might have one weaker division than the other. It's kind of like the SEC West and East over the last few years until Georgia started with Kirby Smart, brought Kirby Smart in. The SEC East was far inferior to the SEC West. Like, it just is what it is. The SEC West was the power conference, and the SEC East was just a pushover. And anybody, the top four teams in the SEC West were better than the top team in the SEC East. Most every single year. I mean, Missouri goes to the SEC in their first year and goes to the conference title game and just gets obliterated.
Yeah.
So, and they had no business being in a conference title game out of the SEC East. So that's what you run into with divisions, but without, I mean, it's danged if you do and danged if you don't on both sides. But I think that's a good problem to have is if you have 20 teams in a conference, and if you can pay all 20 teams, if the TV deals are just as big, if you are the original, OGs of this conference, like the Texas Techs, the Oklahoma States, Kansas State, those schools,
right?
If you're bringing in these schools, all these schools, it adds value as far as name brands. Arizona, if you brought in North Carolina and Duke, it adds in notoriety in that way. But is it putting more money in your pocket is the question, because at the end of the day, college athletics is a big business. And if it's putting more money in their pockets, great. If it's not, then they might shake their heads at it and not want it so much.
But I still contend that ESPN is poor, at least in college football, or at least turning into that way. They are bleeding money.
They're poor. Yeah.
And I don't think Fox wants to pay 100 teams. I mean, they at some point there will be a limit to what Fox wants to do.
Yeah. And then, at some point, I don't know. I don't know where you go to after that, because you got Fox and ESPN, and then CBS. What is CBS going to do with the SEC? Are they willing to pay? It's what?
The CBS isn't with the SEC anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. No more Home Depot, Vern Lundquist anymore.
Well, I think
that was over.
I think CBS is doing the Big Ten. I think CBS is doing a Big Ten game of the week now.
Oh, they are? Okay.
I think
Fair
so.
enough.
I don't know what.
I didn't know that.
Doing Big Ten.
I can't keep up with all this stuff.
They have NBC, Fox, CBS. I think they have everybody. And
then, whenever conferences do this, what is Notre Dame doing? Like, can the Big 12 not go get Notre Dame? Brett Yormark is a great salesman.
No, they stay independent.
I'd love to go get Notre Dame.
Let me read some more.
You want to talk about going and getting the name brand? That's a name brand in everything.
They're fine.
You're a Notre Dame guy.
No,
you don't want them in the conference?
I was. They're independent. They're not going to come. Why would they had the opportunity?
They're independent in football. That's fine. I don't care. Bring them in and everything else.
I guess if the ACC breaks, you could have them in everything else.
Because that adds NBC to the equation right there.
Yeah, starting line, chat line, Lubbock Yanero. He was here too long. I believe that's Bob Bowlesby and not us. Rob, that was an epic rant. Couldn't agree more. He was crying to the Texas legislature. It was embarrassing. Yes, Bowlesby. Still on Bowlesby.
Mm-hmm.
Get to 14, then bide your time for Pitt and NC State. UNC joins the Big 12. Oh boy, with Duke. Good point. Didn't consider that. Arizona State may be out. I don't know if they're out as much as they're just not in.
Yeah,
they were never in.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like Arizona State is the little brother that is like a year younger that you didn't invite to the party. Big brother gets invited. Little brother doesn't. So then little brother's pissed.
Notre Dame has exclusivity with NBC. Not totally true, because the NBC has also signed a deal with maybe this is semantics, because Notre Dame has exclusivity with NBC, but NBC doesn't have exclusivity with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the semantics there.
Well, and that's what I say. If you bring Notre Dame into the conference, then doesn't that bring NBC into the Big 12's purview of what they can possibly get as a TV deal?
They're already with the Big Ten.
Yeah, but if you bring in Notre Dame, I see the Big Ten like they won't go to where they're not. Notre Dame's not in their conference if the ACC dissolves and basketball and everything else. Notre Dame's in the Big Ten.
I'm just out on Notre Dame because they've had their opportunities over and over again, and they haven't ever taken it. Don't know what the allure to the Big 12 is for Notre Dame. Yeah, if they're not joining the Big 10 with an
There's
open,
not one.
Yeah, they're not going to be here. I think that's why I'm just like out on it, is because it'll never happen.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 gains more than Notre Dame would even come close to gaining with them in the conference. It would help the Big 12. It wouldn't help Notre Dame so much. Is what I'm saying.
I would rather have the backyard brawl and Duke and North Carolina than Notre Dame.
Virginia Tech would be cool.
Them too.
Yeah, those Big East rivalry games with Virginia Tech and West Virginia were in the Pat White days. Some really good football games.
Yeah,
really good football games.
Tyler Branham in the house. He says, I would love to have Notre Dame so we can beat the number 5 team in the nation early in the season before they become unranked, but the end of the season like they always do.
Now you have Texas for that this year.
It's harsh there, Tyler, except you play them at the end of the year.
That's true. They won't be ranked.
I would love for that game to be 2 11-1 teams going for the Big 12 championship.
How cool would that be?
Or just a preview for the Big 12 championship because it's already in stone.
True.
You get to play them twice in a row.
If they're both 11-1, it could be a possibility, especially if that one for Texas Tech is a loss to Oregon.
That'd be awesome.
Early. Yeah. I'll take it. If you tell me Texas Tech can be 11-1, I'll take a loss to Oregon early.
Hell, I'll take a loss to Wyoming.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Then go 10-0 to end the year.
10-0 to, yes, 10, just rattle off 10 straight, maybe 11 straight win at Texas.
According to Brett McMurphy, Arizona State and Utah are showing interest, in quotes. Big 12 is exploring option, in quotes, after Washington and Oregon news. I think they just wanted Arizona, and now they're exploring the option of taking all 3 just to go ahead and kill the Pac-12. Does it benefit the Big 12 for the Pac-12 to be dead?
I mean, as far as just Fox it can give you more money. Yeah. That's the only thing. Yeah. That's the only way it benefits you. Literally the only way. But the Pac-12 won't technically be dead. It'll just be straight poached from, and then they'll fill it with inferior ball clubs and teams.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, if the ACC were to lose Clemson and all of the, Georgia Tech and North Carolina and Duke, all these teams, Virginia Tech, the big hitters, Miami, and then they add in, they just absolve into the American Athletic Conference, and UAB is a big school in the Atlantic Coast Conference now. Like, cool, Trent Dilfer's there, great, but they're not taking up for Miami or any of those schools.
Man, I want Miami so bad.
Miami would be cool.
Man,
that I don't think that'll ever happen, but
starter 179. Yes, it benefits competitors for TV contracts. Yeah. I mean, I think it does in that respect.
That's the only way it benefits you. As far as competition wise, I don't know that it all this is about money.
It's bad for college football for the Pac-12 to be dead. It's good for the Big 12 because there's one less TV contract to fight with.
Well, and the Pac-12's dead with USC and UCLA leaving.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
They're not dead. They're going to be the Mountain West, and they'll call it the Pac-12 because you're not going to kill the Pac-12. But
yeah, I agree. I mean, there's still going to be, Mitchell said there's still some value for the Pac after dark, right? So when the Pac and Mountain West merge, they'll get like 10, 15 million a year. Yeah.
There's less though, because the Big Ten's in that time zone now, and the Big 12's in that time zone now.
Well, you're in the Big Ten will be on FS1.
The value of the Pac-12 though was that it was the only thing.
True.
And Hawaii was the nightcap. But
Why
now
would be in the new Pac-12?
There's less value there because now you have Pac, Big 12, and Big 10 games starting at 9 p.m. Central. So there's 3 games now starting at 9 p.m. instead of just 1, potentially.
Yeah.
Tyler, I would love to have Miami so we can beat the number 12 team in the nation early in the season before they become unranked like they always do. Chris, this is all in the starting line chat line. Brett put on his Captain Obvious outfit for that tweet. Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was reading that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Yes, Hawaii needs to negotiate $60 million for the 2 a.m. time slot. Yes, I agree.
That 2 a.m. time slot is goes hard, especially when you're playing in a high school stadium like Hawaii does.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little Texas Rangers before we leave?
Yeah, we can. I love talking to sweep.
They swept the White Sox 2-0, 11-1, 5-3. It was a little dicey there.
A little dicey.
Yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, whenever it was. Was it Thursday?
Yesterday was Thursday.
Yesterday was
5-3 win.
Friday.
Yeah.
Max Scherzer's debut, 9 Ks after a rocky start there in the first. They are a game and a half up on the Houston Astros after the Astros lost to the Yankees. The Yankees win. Now you play the Marlins tonight, who were one of the big trade deadline winners, the Marlins.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on this series?
Marlins have really good starting pitching. A lot of good young talent in their starting rotation. And we talked about this after Jonah Heim. The news of Jonah Heim broke is that Mitch Garver is going to have to step up and do some things. This week, Mitch Garver stepped up and done some things. Did he homer in every single game of this series? Sure felt like he did.
Yeah.
Sure felt like he did. He had a great series, big time series for Garver. Dane Dunning was spectacular on the mound the night before on Wednesday night. Dane Dunning just straight shoved on Wednesday night. Love to see that. He needed that start. Nice to see Scherzer get out there and get on the bump. It's funny that you say it was rocky to start, but he only gives up 3 runs. They get a win.
3 runs, like 40 pitches in the first inning. It was all in the first inning, though.
Love what you got out of Josh Spores yesterday. Love what you got out of Aroldis Chapman. He got 2 runners on base. Not his fault. Josh wanted to make a play, had to barehand a ball. It kind of just skipped away from him. Couldn't make the play, and then a drop third strike with 2 outs, and then Aroldis Chapman, just being Aroldis Chapman, being the consummate professional he is, gets out of the inning, and then Will Smith comes in and closes the door. So
did you like Austin Hedges' catcher gear? Did you notice it?
It's not my favorite.
No, but it was silver and yellow.
Yeah, I know, because it's the Padres. Pirates, yeah. Whatever, yeah. Pirates or Padres gear, yeah.
You have to get some.
Not my favorite. And usually they'll have like some sort of backup gear for the guy. Sure. And he played for didn't he play for the Phillies a couple years ago? He should have red gear too laying around somewhere. But
I guess
the guy's traveled around the major leagues enough to where he should have enough, colored gear to where he can wear for the Rangers. But anyways, it is what it is. As long as he can catch a few games back there and Garver doesn't have to do it all.
Yeah.
Garver was good at the plate, man. He needs to be good at the plate. That's where you miss Jonah Heim the most.
Has to be.
That's where you miss Jonah Heim the most is at the plate. So, and Garver, the reason the Rangers paid him and picked him up in 2021, that offseason, I guess it was the offseason going into last season, is because he had such a good year in 2021 with the Twins. He was phenomenal. I think he was an all-star that year. He was at the top of the league in RBIs, close to it. He was really, really good for the Twins. And that's why the Rangers paid him. So he needs to be that Mitch Garver for the remainder of the season. If the Rangers are going to have an opportunity to do some things in the postseason, it's just going to have to, you have to fill that hole that Jonah Heim left, because Jonah Heim was having one of the best seasons that we've seen a Texas Ranger catcher have since Pudge Rodriguez left.
Yeah, all the stats they've been giving lately on Jonah Heim have been highest in Rangers history amongst catchers not named Pudge.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's
Every
it.
single one. Jordan Montgomery debuting tonight, I think against Jesus Luzardo. Yes, Jesus Luzardo. The Marlins plus 122, over under is 8.5. It is in Arlington. All right, one more thing to cover, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. This was a question here. We were going to get to it anyways, but Lubbock Yanero says, can y'all talk about opening a fall camp for Tech? It was good to see Bryce Ramirez suited up. And apparently Bryce Ramirez full go. That is awesome.
Yeah, 100%. That, and I don't know that he's, health-wise 100%, but he's 100% cleared, I believe, is what they said. So nice to see that Bryce Ramirez has made that recovery, and I'm excited to see what he's can do this year, because last year, I mean, kind of came off as one of the better surprises on that defense for Tech early in the year last year with Bryce Ramirez. So we'll see what he looks like. Fall camp, with it being so early, it is nice. I will say this. It is nice that you don't have like the quarterback controversy. You know who's going to be the starting quarterback. You know what the offense is going to look like. You know who the starting running back is going to be. Taj is going to get the multitude of the carries, but Cameron Valdez is going to have to step his back up in the backfield. I think he's Cameron Valdez reminds me a little bit of Justin Stockton, just with his breakaway speed.
Yeah.
The way that he can get through a line, and once he gets to that second level, what'd you say?
One cut kind of guy.
Yeah, one cut guy. Yeah, get to that second level, and bye Betty. So yeah, I'm excited about those guys. I mean, it's exciting that fall camp started. That's where you're at right now. It's too early to really get into a ton of things, but yeah, it feels like it might be one of the first years where you don't have so many unanswered questions. There's a few unanswered questions on the offensive line. Would you say? I mean, you're replacing a couple that
not really though, because you replace them with Cole Spencer. You moved over.
Yeah.
You move over Dennis Wilburn, who was arguably your best offensive lineman last year, and then you flip your tackles. You bring in Rusty Stats, who knows the offense because he played at Western Kentucky. Like, if there are questions on the offensive side of the football, it's probably the offensive line. And then you have defensively, who replaces Tyree Wilson? Well, if you watch the bowl game, that's Miles Cole, pretty obviously.
Yep.
You also bring in Steve Linton, who just looks like a freak. Like, are there questions? Yeah, there's questions in every fall camp, but it seems to me that Joey McGuire has a lot of answers right now, which makes you feel good about this season going into the year.
Yeah, and and Joseph Adedire, or however you say his last name, I think he'll have a pretty good year as being depth on that defensive line on the end. So
and Isaac Smith.
Yeah, and then as far as Rusty Stotts, will he play center for you? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he'll slide in there at the center position and do just fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
So, and then I'm really excited about what Loic Fungee is going to give you this year. I think he has a breakout year. I think he has a kind of Biletnikoff kind of year. I just think he's a
Loic Fungee.
Yeah, I like Loic Fungee, man. He's so athletic. I think he makes plays. Jaron Bradley is going to get the multitude of the eyes on him, which we all know that opens everything up for other guys. And I think Loic Fungee can be that guy.
Heard it here first.
I really do.
You heard it here first.
Maybe it's because I got to watch him up close and personal a lot.
Yeah.
But I love Loic Fungee, man. Yeah. I'll tell you what, he's one of the best receivers I've seen up close and personal on a Friday night when he was at Legacy, and yeah, love that kid, man.
It was Lee when he was there.
It was Lee when he was there. Yeah,
Yeah, you're fine.
yeah.
People were
But,
trying to
yeah.
cancel Kyle the other day because he said Midland Lee.
I mean, even the people that still go to high school, I think at Midland Legacy, still call it Lee. So
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think.
All right, I don't have much else. Do you have anything else to add today?
No.
All right.
Do not. We're
You
getting
said
closer.
Getting closer. Within a month,
Getting closer.
we'll be in Wyoming soon enough.
In the mountains.
In the mountains.
War Memorial Stadium.
Or in our cowboy hats.
Watching them play the ugliest colored team in America.
Oh, man. Brown and yellow is
Bad,
so bad.
bad. Just bad.
So bad.
Really, really cool stadium, though. Really, really cool stadium.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. All right. See you later, Carson.
Peace.
And audience. Oh, hey, if you I didn't ever do the ad read for Starting Line Counseling.
Yeah,
I talked about it. We talked about it for the whole time. 15 minutes consultation for free. Go to startinglinecounseling.com. Chase, a double graduate of Texas Tech, more than a decade of experience. It's all telehealth based. So startinglinecounseling.com. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to leave your office. Free 15 minutes there with Chase could change your life. All right. Now we're leaving. You want to say it again?